Excellent morning to each and every one of you. Bienvenue, my French audience would say. I want to welcome everyone to today's session of the spiritual side of success. My name is Oladapo Onadipe. I welcome everyone because we are here today in order to learn one or two things that will help us in our journey towards success. Today is Friday, the 16th day of May. That means that half the month of May is already gone. And I hope we are taking advantage of every day in order to be bigger and better. So today we have a very interesting topic, and it's titled The Role of God's Grace in Supernatural Success. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. And the reading we will be having will be from Luke, Gospel of Luke, chapter 5, 1 to 11, from the New King James Version. So I'm going to be reading, and please pay rapt attention. So we're reading once again, in case you didn't get it, from Luke chapter 5, 1 to 11. That's where we're reading from. And the topic for today is the role of God's grace in supernatural success. So we start from verse 1. So it was, as the multitude pressed about him to hear the word of God, that he stood by the lake of Gennesaret and saw two boats standing by the lake. But the fishermen had gone from them and were washing their nets. Verse 3. Then he got into one of the boats, which was Simon's, and asked him to put out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the multitude from the boat. When he had stopped speaking, he said to Simon, "Launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch." Verse 5. But Simon answered and said to him, "Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, I will let down the nets." And when they had done this, they caught a great number of fish, and their net was breaking. Verse 7. So they signaled to their partners in the other boats to come and help them. And they came and filled both the boats, so that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord." Verse 9. For he and all who were with him were astonished at the catch of fish which they had taken. And so also were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on, you will catch men." The last verse, which is 11. So when they had brought their boats to land, they forsook all and followed him. So, like I said, it's the role of God's grace in supernatural success that we are looking at today. And the area we're looking into is Luke 5, 1 to 11. You see, for you to have outstanding success, it takes just more than the ordinary. It takes for you to have the right mindsets. It takes for you to, put in the shifts and do the hard work. But I dare say that the God factor still remains, very important in achieving, an all-round success. Here you can see trained fishermen. They had the skill. They've been catching fish probably all their life. Because for a good number, this kind of profession, they are professions in the family. So most times, maybe the parents or the grandparents were in that business. As the children were growing up, they taught them, and the children took over. And as those, as their own children, so most times, some of these professions, they run in the family. So it's possible that, the disciples also, that, it was something that was handed over to them. But whatever it was, one thing we know is that they are trained fishermen. They are people who understand the terrain of fishing, and they are people that have made a livelihood from fishing. And so that day, they went at night, of course, because when the water is much calm, that is when they catch the fish. So a good fisherman knows to wait, for the night or early in the morning to go catch, the fish. And on this occasion, they did the same. But something strange happened. They caught nothing. Very strange for a fisherman with all his skill, with all his expertise, knowing the time to fish, knowing the kind of baits to deploy, being, in a large water body, and still failing to catch a fish. Very unusual. But it happened here. And it shows you and I that at times our skill may fail us. No wonder the Bible says that the arm of flesh shall utterly fail. And in another place, it says the horse is ready for battle, but victory is guaranteed of the Lord. And so when in verse 4, Jesus told Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your net for a catch. Peter replied, Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing. It was a frustrating day for them. Imagine staying awake all night, casting your net in different directions and catching nothing. So they were exhausted, they were tired, and they probably were planning to go home and take it that today is just, one of those days, one of those bad days at the office. But in the morning, they met Jesus, and he asked them to use their boats. And they were generous enough to allow him use their boat as a platform to share the good news that he wanted to share. And after he had, done his business, he now told Peter, cast your nets into the deep. And then, Peter had to report to him, well, we've done this all night. We didn't catch anything. But if you insist, thank God that, he was ready to follow instructions. At times, some of us are not ready to follow instructions that can make us to succeed. So Peter said, well, I don't lose anything. But if you insist, let me take action. At times also, some of us, we are too quick to close the door. Peter was smart enough not to close the door. He says, nevertheless, at thy word, I will let down the nets. So don't just give up when things are not going your way. Put in still more if you have to. And immediately he did this, they caught a great number of fish, and their nets began to break. Not only did their nets break, they signaled to their partners in the other boats to come help them. And they came and now filled both boats so that they began to sink. Imagine they didn't catch any fish. Now they caught so much fish that 2 boats could not contain. And the weight was so heavy that it started to sink. And something happened. The nets, which they used to, pull the fish, it didn't break, which was very unusual for that load they caught. Immediately, Peter discerned that this was not ordinary, that this was not natural, that this was a supernatural success. And he recognized, the person that made it happen. And in verse 8, he says, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, depart from me. I am a sinful man, O Lord. He realized, that he wasn't worthy for, such greatness. Now, to you and I, for us to be able to experience supernatural success, we need to understand the role of the God factor and be ready to key into it. I'll just share an experience that I had that can buttress, what I'm saying today. 2 months ago, while I was, writing my book, I was at it and, everything seemed going well. We had finished writing the book. I had sent to Amazon for it to be published. The author's copy was released, and it got to my brother in the US, and he sent it to me in Nigeria, and I got the copy on Sunday, which was the same week as my birthday. So I got the copy on Sunday the 16th, and my birthday was Wednesday the 19th. So I looked through, the author's copy to see if there were any errors or, anything that need to be corrected. And there was none at the end of the day. There was just something slight which we adjusted, and that was all. And I think by the following day, we now sent for the final copy to be published. Then by Wednesday, which was, my birthday, it still was not ready, as at the time we are going to have the online preview of the book. But by then, I had been able to upload the soft copy on seller.com. So I uploaded the soft copy on seller.com. So that night when we were reviewing the book, nothing was ready for Amazon. But, after the book review, I invited people to go on seller.com to be able to get their e-copy. And some people did. And then I told them that, I told the audience that by the following day, which was Thursday, they should expect it to be, released on Amazon. And that's because there was a timeline that we are working on. And the person who edited my work had told me that it doesn't take so long, 24, 48, maximum 72 hours. So I was quite relaxed that even though that Wednesday that we did the online review, it wasn't ready, but by Thursday to be ready, then we'll tell people to go on Amazon and get the book. On Thursday was my surgery day in Lagos. So I was driving to Lagos for surgery. And as I got to, Lagos, my place of where I do my surgeries, I opened my phone and saw that I had an email from Amazon. And when I opened and saw the email, it was one of the devastating news that I could imagine to get that morning, because all I was waiting to hear was the fact that, my book was ready and it was going to be published. But what I got, was something else. It was a shocker that I got that morning. I was like Peter, who had labored all night and discovered I had caught nothing. Why do I say that? I'll just read the message I got that morning. It says, "Thank you for the submission of the following titles: Knocked Down But Not Out by Onadipe Joseph, author. Based on our review, we won't be accepting your submission for publication because the books might result in a disappointing customer experience." And then they told me, for additional information, you can refer to our terms and conditions. If you think you have received this notification in error, blah, 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 blah. So imagine I was waiting for my book to be published that morning, and this was the message I got, that they would not be accepting my book for publication because it might result in a disappointing customer experience. Imagine how devastated I was that morning. I told everybody online, wait for my copy to come out on Amazon. And this was me the following day, with Amazon telling me they couldn't publish my book. That was very, very devastating. And yet, I was like Peter. I had labored all night, not just all night. The number of months, weeks that I had put in to write this book. We kept editing. We kept modifying the cover design. We'll send, and there will be, there will be some few inches to adjust. We went through all of this back and forth with the printer, with the designer. It wasn't a walk in the park. And at the end of the day, my book wasn't to be published. So I had to dig deep, because now I had labored all night and yet I had caught nothing. And so I got in touch with, the editor and discussed with the person. And then we were able to come up with the fact that we needed to write a letter to them. And of course, I prayed, because I knew that when God wants to do something big, the devil must always do something small. And so I prayed. And in praying, I asked God to make a way where there seems to be no way. And so we wrote them that letter. And on writing the letter, they acknowledged it on that Thursday and asked us to, I can't remember if it was that same Thursday, but most likely that Thursday, so they asked us to give them 72 hours, which meant that it wouldn't be until the following week that we'll get a feedback. So I went about my duty that Friday. I haven't done the spiritual side of success. And I remember I went to the bank, dropped the check. And then when I got back home, I saw this email. And I'm going to also share that with you. I'm going to share that with you. I got this email on Friday. It says, thanks for your message regarding the following books, Knocked Down But Not Out. Author, Dr. Oladapo Onadipe. We have reviewed the information you provided and approved the books for publication. To complete the publication process, you need to resubmit your books. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine just 24 hours earlier, the book was knocked down. But just like the title of the book, knocked down but not out, I wasn't out of the game. And in 24 hours, I got another email acknowledging that the book was now going to be published. Can you imagine that? That was indeed, you know, the role of God's grace in supernatural success. Imagine if I didn't believe that something could happen. Imagine if I lacked the faith and I just took it that, oh, my book can be published. Then I went crying and, you know, I started lamenting and all of that. So all I'm telling you is that you may have put in the effort. You may have done your part. You may have done everything. And it's still possible that you do not see the success that you want. Well, I will ask you, have you added the God factor? Have you prayed about it? Have you asked the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords to intervene in your situation? If you haven't, that may just be the missing link for the success you are looking for. And of course, ultimately, the book got published, and here is a copy of it, knocked down but not out. This book was launched about 3 weeks ago, the 26th day of April. And a lot of people have been, you know, getting a copy of the book all over the world. And I remember just yesterday, a friend of mine sent me a message, which I'm going to read about the book. The same book that they said will not have a pleasant experience for those that read it. Yesterday, after the book has been released now to the public, one of my friends sent this message. His name is Mr. Sheyi Macaulay from Otta, and I have his permission to read it. He says, "Sir, can you imagine what happened? I have not started reading your book when my wife picked the book and almost finished it. I am now waiting for her to take my turn." He now said that I should bear with him. The book is worth more than the cover price. I will send my own money very soon. That was, you know, his comment yesterday. And this was the same book that he said may not give the audience a good reading experience. Now the wife took the book. She refused to let it down because it's a book that once you start reading, you cannot drop. And for those who are here, if you have read the book, you can, you know, pass 1 or 2 comments. Let's know if it's a book that when you start reading, you get tired and you drop, or it's a book that you don't want to let go. You just want to continue reading. And so that is, you know, someone's story about the book. And he's not alone. About 2 weeks ago, I visited some of my old classmates in the University of Ibadan. And I dropped one of the books for one of my friends. And, you know, he also told me during the week that he hasn't been able to read my book. And I asked him why. Is it his busy schedule? He said no. That the wife read about the book, just this summary, and she grabbed the book with both hands and hasn't allowed him have access to the book. So, ladies and gentlemen, the same book that it was said that the readers may not have a good experience is the book that those who bought it have not had access to it because their wives grabbed the book and haven't released it to the husbands who are my friends. And now the husbands are on queue to read the book they bought. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can really see it, that it takes that grace of God for you to have supernatural success. And I must tell you that that book is going places, and a lot of people, you know, they get in the book. Just this week, sent over 32 copies all the way to the UK, being distributed to different people in the UK. I also sent a few copies to Canada, and the person will arrive in Canada today. And, you know, we're just going to make sure that, you know, the book gets to everyone. So you are here, you don't have a copy, you can go on Amazon and get a copy of the book, Knocked Down but Not Out. And if you want an autographed copy, a signed copy of the book, get in touch with me and I'll do that and we'll arrange how you will get it. Please, there is room for feedback if you have read my book. There is room for feedback. If you look at the very, you know, if you look at page 125, the epilogue, you have my email address, my IG page, and my WhatsApp number. So you have about 3 options to be able to get across to me. Haven't read the book. What's your experience? What did you learn? What are you going to do differently? Feel free to give me feedback, and I'll really be happy to, you know, have that feedback. So today we've been able to see that you may put in all the effort, you may put in all the shifts, you may have all the skill, but if you lack the God factor, you may not have the kind of success that you want. So today, know that, embrace it, and you can be better for it. So I'm better for it because I have adopted that, and it's helped me even at times that, you know, everything seems not working. My book wouldn't have been published. I'd labored all night, caught nothing, but yet I took that step of faith, wrote them, and then eventually it's published today. And hundreds of copies are already circulating all over the world. You should also have a copy of that book, read, and now send, you know, feedback and let me know how that book may have impacted you. Just before we round up, let me look at a few comments and respond. I have Randeep Kaur Shoha. Are you still with IM Academy? No. I've left IM Academy. I left in October 2023. And by November 2023, we started the Surgical Precision Academy, SP Academy, we call it. You can get the link to our Telegram group in our bio. So click on it, join our Telegram group, and then we can introduce you to the Academy where you can learn and earn with us. I hope that answers your question. I'm so happy I visited you and experienced the book launch. So many people supported you and ordered so many copies. It was an awesome time for me. Thank you. Great experience you had, Kate, and I'm happy that you came. Thank you for coming. You are greatly appreciated. I'm so happy I've read the book. It's definitely very Moorish. I had to keep reading. I'm reading for the second time. Great. I bought so many copies back to the UK. The last bundles will be posted today. Thank you very much for all the help and the support you've given. Of course, Kate, to me, has bought the highest number of copies of my book. She has copies in the double figure. So Kate, you are appreciated for it. She's bought for herself, bought for her children, and bought for friends. So that's how to support a friend. And I really appreciate that support, Kate. You are greatly appreciated. I know you have the God factor all around you. It's awesome. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we have for you today on the spiritual side of success. Make sure that having put in all the efforts, you ask God to crown your effort with success, and He surely would do that. So next week will be another time for us to have the spiritual side of success. Sunday, 9 p.m. West African time, we'll have an opportunity call. You want to know how we make money from the foreign exchange market? Feel free to join us via IG. Join our Telegram group. The link is in the bio so that anytime, we're going out, notifications you will get. And our academy goes on. We keep teaching people how to learn the skill and also to earn. That will be all for now. I look forward to, seeing you same time next week. Have a wonderful weekend. And I would say bye.